The following program is intended for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
The absolute worst!
I love what Zach posted. I just got assaulted by a St. Louis Blues fan.
Well, that was me too.
Was that you?
Yeah, but Zach has requested that we not discuss the proprietors of that fine website.
You're only feeding the machine, and I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I will just say, and I think people can probably figure this out. If you follow my Twitter feed, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. But this person calling something classless just cracked me up. If there was ever a more perfect example of pot, meat, kettle, I don't know where it would have been. That's just unbelievable.
No, but that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point, is they want he knows this and wants people to react to it because he's a jackass and he wants other people to act like a jackass to him so that he can claim himself as the victim. If we're not being clear enough, because I don't want to say it out loud, it's the sports media website with a Boston bias that's named after a seat in a drinking establishment.
And it's also where Tank does all of his fine work.
Yes.
My only issue with it is that he should have hit him with a frying pan, not a towel.
Yeah.
So
this is in St. Louis where we can't ask them to get anything done in a proper fashion, I guess.
No, they can't even fuck up right.
If we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup Finals so far.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Again, we're only through 6 games. Hopefully by the time this comes out, we have been proven wrong.
This is what happens when our final hope rests on the goddamn Blues.
Right? I told you we were in shaky hands from the start. I think I said last week, if they didn't get it in 6, they aren't getting it, and they're not getting it. They're done.
They got shellacked.
Well,
it wasn't even that they got shellacked. I thought they were playing pretty even with Boston until the wheels kind of came off the end.
Right.
But they just couldn't get through Tuukka Rask. And Jordan Binnington just wasn't good enough.
There was one point where they were putting on some pretty good pressure on Rask, and then they rang the post once, which I thought, that would have tied the game. And they just kind of, I don't know, do you think they just ran out of gas or what, Zach? But it's just the wheels just kind of came off.
It was Tuukka Rask has been impeccable in this playoffs, and I honestly think he should win the Conn Smythe Trophy, even if the Bruins somehow lose on Wednesday.
That ain't happening.
But he was good, and Jordan Binnington, the first goal that Boston scored it's a 5-on-3. It's a couple dumb penalties. I don't know how much you're going to do there. Just don't give Boston those opportunities. Then the second one was the bouncer, where there was a lot of reports of bad ice there, and because again we're playing into June in a city that gets kind of humid in the summertime, the ice was not spectacular, but both teams had to play with it. Either way, it was a bad goal led up by Binnington on a bad bounce, and then he let the third one in from a shot from deep right after the Blues had finally tied it by ever so slightly getting the puck across the goal line on Rask, and so that was their opportunity. They came back. They're 2-1. Okay, now you can make a real big push and really try to get something in here. And then Binnington gives one up from deep. And it's like, all right, well, cool. The meal ticket that got you into the playoffs, that got you to where you are, is now turning into a pumpkin at the worst possible time.
Right.
Even though he himself has not been spectacular, he's been good, very, very good. But he let in a couple of goals that he would probably want back.
Binnington's only, this is what, maybe his 40th NHL game total?
Yeah.
So, not that that's an excuse, I'm just saying, but.
No, but at the same time, that's the difference right now. Again, with the Blues, you can maybe put forth a couple candidates for Conn Smythe if they win, but with the Bruins, it's Tuukka.
Yeah.
Mike saw him firsthand. You saw him firsthand. He's been extremely good, and in the biggest moments, he's been great for Boston. And now they're in Game 7, and he has been spectacular in series clinching games so far this postseason, letting up a total of 1 goal in all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So
I knew that, like, the Blues, for them to win the series, I thought they had to get it last night. Look, anything can happen, but I don't like going into Boston for a Game 7. I just don't like it, especially with the Blues, because it's not like they're known for rising to the occasion, you know?
It's like
whatever the
Zach,
opposite of that is, that's what they're known for.
It's like what Zach said, like, St. Louis Blues, could you try to not be the St. Louis Blues for the next, 11 games? And that might have been too tall a task.
Yeah.
They literally only had to do it, you did everything you had to do. You won 2 games in Boston.
Yeah.
You overcame an incredible dud on home ice in your first Cup final game in 50 years or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like when Boston puts up 7, it's like, oh man, here they come. But no, you did it, everything you needed to do. You got a 3-2 advantage. You're coming home. You outlasted the Bruins in Boston. Here's your chance.
Yep.
Here it is. The building is nuts. You're not getting blown away like you were in that game. Here is your shot. And they dropped it.
Yeah.
As a Leafs fan, that sounded all too familiar.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like, well, yeah.
As a Ducks fan, I say that's familiar too, but at least when the Ducks were choking things away, they win and won on the road, and then for Game 6 to force a 7 that they would then blow at home. This is not quite the same thing, but here they are. And as some people have done on the boards, on whether it's our boards or HF boards, people have done the research, and no team that has dropped Game 6 like that at home in the Cup final has gone on to win Game 7.
Ever?
No.
Well, yeah.
Boston was a team that was on the other end of it, where they went and won Game 6 and then won Game 7. So
yeah, I just think that every series, when you're a team like St. Louis, I think Boston's a better team. I think we can all agree on that, probably.
Top to bottom, yeah.
Yeah. But when you're a team like the Blues, you get, and not just the Blues, but there are just times where, like you said, Zach, this is your shot. This is it. You've got to do it right here, right now.
Boston's not even playing that good.
Right.
To be perfectly honest, their best players aren't showing up. Marchand finally scored yesterday on a 5-on-3. And it's like, it took him this long to score a goal. He has been zero impact. David Pasternak finally scored a goal. He had been zero impact until right then.
Yeah, and they had their shot, and they blew it. And I just don't see – you don't come back from that. I mean, again, anything's possible. And it's like if the Blues have done one thing this year, it's that they have completely thrown us off with expectations because we expect them to lose and they win. So who knows? But if I had to bet on it, I'm putting all my money on Boston. I think it's theirs for the taking now. And it's going to take like a choke job. Rask is going to have to fall apart or something. Other than that, I don't see how they lose this series now because St. Louis had their shot. Like you said, they took 2 in Boston. They had it set up where they could win it at home in Game 6, and they let it slip away. So here we are going to Game 7, and I do not like the odds at all for the Blues. I just think that, I don't know what happened in 6, but that's it. You had your shot. Maybe they win Game 7, but I wouldn't bet on it. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think they do. I think they're done. Last night was it.
Fuck this stupid league.
Yeah, I say fuck all sports right now. But on the upside, our Toronto Raptors are in the driver's seat, fellas. They are in the driver's seat. Did they take 2 in Oakland? Right?
Yeah, they did. The Toronto Raptors have won 2 in Oakland after splitting the first 2 in Toronto. So
yeah.
I said on last week's show if the Toronto Raptors could manage to win just 1 in Oakland, then I liked their chances because then it's 2-2 with 2 of the next 3 in Toronto. But they went in 1-2, and so now they're up 3-1. They're on the verge of an NBA championship.
Yeah, and
on the verge of dethroning your Golden State Warriors of California, Oakland.
Okay, the Golden State Warriors of California of Oakland. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Raptors have just. I mean, you talk about exceeding expectations. My goodness, man, have they played good
Suck
basketball?
it, Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, really.
What is Stephen A. Smith's hard on for hating Toronto? I don't get that.
The joke is that he must have had a bad time at customs getting into Canada to cover the games.
I mean, he's clearly playing like a character for it, but like,
I mean, when in Stephen A. Smith's recent career has he not been playing a bit?
oh, I know, but like, you're an American guy. Like, why are you? Like, you're not getting anybody. Like, you are getting people in Toronto pushed in a certain way, but like, you air primarily in the States. So what are you doing? Like, hey, the Toronto fans didn't show up after halftime of the third quarter of that game. Yeah, dude, because every stadium in America goes to the concession stand.
Yeah, it's called. It's called. Not only that, but like, I didn't really realize it until I had actually gone to the ACC for a Leafs game. The ACC, well, it's not the ACC anymore. It's the Scotiabank.
Scotia.
It'll always be the ACC to me. But anyway, that building is kind of – the hallways are very narrow. I'll put it like that. It gets very crowded in the concourses in between periods or, quarters in this case. So, like, yeah, it happens with the Raptors and it happens with the Leafs. Like, after, intermission or, after halftime, the lower decks are always a bit barren because everyone who went to go to the bathroom or to get concessions, like, again – like honestly, the concourses in that building are probably a bit undersized for what they need to be, and like it takes a while to get everyone back in. I say that as someone who has experience in that building. It's kind of a massive humanity in there between periods of play. So like. Come the fuck on, everyone was in their seat by the time the third quarter was well underway. So
I remember when the Browns played at the old stadium. Okay, and you got to remember this place, old and decrepit and not really built for the crowds that it was trying to handle. But like, say if you went at halftime to go get food and go to the bathroom, you would miss, I'd say, easily half the third quarter of the game because it just took that long. There was just too many people. Not, understaffed, too many people, and it just took forever. So, you're going to knock a team because their fans are out getting food or something and they get back a little bit late? Is that what his argument is? Or is he trying to say that no one's showing up to watch? And he's using this as proof.
He was basically saying that, like, when this was from Game 2 when the Warriors had that incredible run coming out of halftime.
Oh, okay.
And it was just because the Raptors fans were not back in their seats ready to support the team. The Warriors were going off on a run and you weren't there to pick up your team.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
But it's like, what are you on, man?
Not only that, but I mean, if you're going to do the hot take thing, at least be a little more original than that. Come on. That's not even interesting.
It was stupid.
Everything.
But really, it's funny to think about now. Like that stretch, that third quarter stretch, is really the only time the Warriors have been the better team in any 4 games.
Absolutely.
Toronto has outclassed them at every single level. And, whether you want to say injuries are playing into it or this, that, or whatever, the fact still remains that one team is clearly outplaying the other one.
Kevin Durant needs to think about his future, and he needs to take as much time off as he needs to ensure that he's
Well, they're talking – yeah, really.
He's reportedly in the lineup tonight. So.
Yeah, you know what, though, man? I tell you, just based on – I mean, and this is just this is going to be my hot take for the day. But the dude's already got his ring. He knows he's not going to be there. He's not taking any chances. He's not going to go out there and try to hurt himself again. He needs to be healthy for free agency. I don't know. I mean, maybe he plays, but I bet you he doesn't. I bet you he sits it out again. Because last I read, and this was just like 10 minutes ago, that Steve Kerr was calling him a game-time decision. So nothing's definite yet, but I bet you he doesn't play.
I would also like to point out, kind of circling back to Stephen A. for a moment, but go fuck yourself if the Raptors might get swept, because what up?
I know. I forgot. I wanted to look this up before we came on, and I forgot to do it. And I'm sure it's out there somewhere. What the odds would have been, like, had the Blues won last night, it would have been even more interesting. But if someone had bet for the Blues and the Raptors on a combo bet to win the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals, what the odds on that had to be and what the payoff would be on that? It'd have to be a bunch, right?
All I know is that people have been counting this Raptors team out since the second round. People are, Philly's going to beat them. The Greek Freak is better than everyone on Toronto. It's his conference now that LeBron's not there. It's like, nah, y'all sit down and you shut up because we the North.
Didn't you guys sweep Milwaukee?
No, they went down 2-0 to Milwaukee.
Oh, that's right. And next four, yeah.
Yeah. So we the North, and we know no king, but the king in the North, and his name is Kawhi.
There you go. Who bought a house? Bought a house in Toronto for $400.
The amount of Game of Thrones King in the North gifts I've seen in reference to this Toronto Raptors run has been amazing.
Yes, sir. He bought a house last week. It's a 500,000 square foot house with like 2 swimming pools, a helicopter pad, for the fine price of $450 plus taxes.
Hey, you
they
know
want
what?
to keep him around.
You keep that. You pay the man what he's earned. And
I really think it would be neat if he stayed because I think they've got a pretty good team there, and they could really build something here. But who knows if he will?
I mean, ultimately, it's one of these things where I've been thinking about it. Right, like let's just dare to dream and say the Raptors win the NBA Finals. Right, let's say that happens. And then let's say that even with that, Kawhi Leonard goes to, like, the Lakers, right, or something. Like, how would I feel? And on one hand, there is kind of that sinking feeling of, well, that's it. We're not getting back. But on the other hand, there's that feeling of, like, I've been following, again, this stupid dinosaur team since, 1995, when the opposing team would play Barney the Dinosaur music when they came out. And, just being just like the dumbest, with like the dumbest fucking uniforms. I'm sorry, Tom O'Grady. They're not going to wear purple in the finals. I ate that shit up when I was like 8.
Did O'Grady call for purple in the finals?
He did on a Mothership article.
Tom O'Grady, first off, I hope you're listening. If you are, you're a fucking douchebag. And secondly, no, they're not wearing purple, so shut up.
And look, I love the purple uniforms. Man, like, I have a soft spot for them because I was the target demographic, like, when they came out. And, like, so, like, I get the appreciation. I like it, but, like, objectively, it was stupid. It was a stupid look, and it made the team a laughing stock, and it's only really appreciated now as sort of like this hipster retrospective thing. Objectively, it's not what a team in the NBA should be wearing. But, like, again, that kind of just goes along with it. Like, this was a team that, a lot of people stuck around with for a long time, despite being a laughingstock, despite, our most famous postseason moment being Vince Carter missing a last-second shot against the Milwaukee Bucks and, the second round of the playoffs. That was, like, the pinnacle. And so, honestly, if the Raptors manage to pull this off, and if Kawhi Leonard, even after winning a title with the Raptors, decides he's going to go to L.A., and play for, a city close to his hometown, like, I can't begrudge him because he's already done more for this franchise than any other player. So
I thought you were going to say play for LeBron, which is probably closer to true than we'd want to admit. Not play with LeBron, but play for him.
But, yeah, I mean, honestly, if he went there and, even with an NBA title, yeah, like, he's already done more for the Raptors and more to make this team something special and relevant than any other Toronto Raptor has before him. So I would probably not begrudge him because, I get it that there was that special, if we're switching sports here for a moment, when John Tavares signed with the Maple Leafs, like that was special, not just because he was a great talent, but because, he was coming home to play for his hometown team. And so if Kawhi Leonard, after this series is done, even if he wins a title, if he wants to go play in Southern California where he's from and he wants to play with a generational talent like LeBron James, I can't really fault him for that. He's done a lot for this team already. So,
well, that's the way we kind of felt about LeBron after the second time he left. The first time obviously was a disaster. We all remember it, and there's no need to revisit it. But after they won in 16, I think he stayed, one more year, and then he left because he went to the Lakers last year, right?
Yeah.
So, but everybody was cool with it. It was like, look, man, thanks. We got a title out of it, and good luck in LA. There was no bad blood. Of course, we'd love for him to stay, but I'm with you, Mike. I mean, look, if he stays, great. If not, well, thanks for everything, and good luck in the future.
Regardless, again, this is a daring to dream, and assuming that the Toronto Raptors win this series and win the NBA championship, regardless of what Kawhi Leonard decides to do from that point forward, we'll always have this run. We'll always have that shot against the Sixers. We'll always have that comeback against the Bucks. So, that's not going anywhere. And right now, someone asked me on the CCSLC forum. Well, he didn't ask me specifically. He asked Raptors fans in particular, and I answered. But what are you thinking of regarding Kawhi Leonard's future? Or, what are your thoughts on that? I'm honestly not thinking about it. I'm thinking about this series, and as far as I'm concerned, only the next couple of basketball games matter, and whatever happens after that will sort itself out. So
yeah. I again, like I said, I would love to see him stay. I don't know that he will. I don't know much about him. If he's from Southern California, you've got LeBron James sitting out there. You've got one of the at least it used to be anyway, marquee franchises in the NBA. I mean, LeBron and Kawhi Leonard on the same team. Also with what's his name, the ball kid. They've got some pieces. If they can just get the front office together, they can go right back to being the Lakers again and quick.
LeBron, bring Kawhi in, trade for Anthony Davis. There you go.
Oh my God, that would be incredible.
I think, Kawhi is a Southern California kid. He's from Riverside, went to San Diego State. He's got plenty of ties here. If there's a place for him to go, it's here. I know other people are trying to throw out the Clippers as a possible destination, but I don't know. If he goes
to LA, he's going to the Lakers and LeBron.
Yeah.
Right? He's not going. If he is dead set on going to Los Angeles, he's not going to the fucking Clippers.
Well, what do the Clippers have left? Are they still any good?
They made the playoffs and won a few games against Golden State in the first round, so.
I mean, would he be like a piece that could maybe put them back to the elite level, or would it not make much difference? Obviously, adding Kawhi Leonard would make a difference. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe the Clippers aren't such a crazy idea. I don't know what kind of personality Kawhi has. I mean, is he I gotta be the guy?
What personality?
Well, you know what I mean, though. I'm like, is he I have to be the guy, or is he okay being a complimentary guy to LeBron?
I think
he seemed very much like a team player.
He's a team guy. There are times in this series, and this is kind of funny because the Raptors are up 3-1, and as Zach had pointed out, for the vast majority of this series, they've been the better team. So it kind of sounds stupid of me to be admitting to complaining, but there have been times where I've been watching these games where it's like I know Kawhi Leonard, I know that you're an excellent, 3-point shooter. I know you can basically make any shot from anywhere on the court, but the dude wants to set up plays. He wants to pass the ball. He's obviously if he has to be the guy to carry the team for a stretch, he will do that, but he's not he's not going to be he's not going to be the guy who's we got 2 minutes left, give the ball to me, and because I am your savior. He's not that kind of dude.
Well, yeah, because you got guys like that, like Russell Westbrook. I think James Harden's like that, where they've got to be the guy,
Well, we all see how that's worked out for James Harden.
Yeah, well. The Houston Rockets, the perennial bridesmaids, they're always this is the year.
The San Jose Sharks of the National Basketball Association.
This is always the year that the Harden and those Rockets are going to finally break through and beat the Warriors, except that they never do.
The difference, of course, being that the Rockets do have a championship somewhere in there.
Well, they've got two of them actually.
They won back to back. Yeah,
exactly.
Which
and they have a hideous new logo. So that's
we should talk about that because specifically, I kind of want to talk about the Rockets championship era identity, and that's a good place for it. We'll get to that, but
yeah, we'll get to it.
I just wanted to say though, like, I don't know. Zach, you mentioned it in our group text about how like the Raptors are a game away from winning the NBA Finals, like before the Blue Jays or Maple Leafs even got back to the World Series or Stanley Cup, and like I would never have expected that in a million years. But I'm going to be honest, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
well, I was thinking about this today in relation to discussions we had over the last 2 years with the Vegas Golden Knights, right?
Yeah.
Where, Vegas has had the opportunity to win a title in year one. And
fucking bullshitting them.
As an expansion whereas you are the fan of an expansion basketball team here in the Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
Sportsnet's feeds put out a picture earlier today of one of the very first games the Raptors played back in the Sky Dome.
Yeah, remember when they played the Sky Dome?
That was such a stupid thing because like they put the court in like the outfield against a wall and then built up fake stands around it.
But this is the route that fans of a new team take, right? This is how it's supposed to be. So as somebody that's been a fan of Toronto sports since the Raptors came into existence, should they, even if they don't win it, like, which I think at this point it would be kind of a disaster one way or the other.
I mean, yeah, even if KD's back, like, I like their chances to win at least one of three. Because,
right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I think I don't think have they ever swept anybody in the finals? I'm sure they did somewhere along the way, but
they did. What, the Warriors? Oh, didn't they sweep the Cavs last year?
Was it a sweep? I thought the Cavs won the first game.
No. Remember the Cavs.
That was the head up your ass game. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Where, like LeBron James looked like he was going to kill someone.
Yeah, that idiot.
But anyway, there's a shot of the Toronto Raptors playing in the Sky Dome in like '95, like just.
Yeah. But again, for you to see this team come from that to playing on the concrete outfield of a baseball stadium. Yeah. To one game away, potentially 3 hours away from winning an NBA title. What does that mean to you?
It's been surreal. Like, I spent the last when they eliminated the Bucks, I was like, I honestly don't believe that they're playing for the NBA championship because what the hell? And then they won, and then they lost that game too. They should have won, but like. It's only really dawned on me after Game 4, like when they won the second one in Oakland, when I was considering, if they could win one in Oakland, that would be lucky. And I'm like, holy shit, this like may happen. And I'm kind of giddy. Like, it means a lot. Like, to me as a little kid, again, wearing his Stoudemire Raptors jersey to school, right? When even my friends who grew up in the same town as I did, like, Raptors were their hometown team, but they were all, if they wore basketball jerseys, it was all MJ Bulls gear, right?
Sure, yeah, everybody was doing that back then. Yeah.
Like nobody. Like the Raptors were a joke of a team, and just thinking back to just how utterly kind of hopeless it seemed for a long time, where you had this team, they had a stupid dinosaur logo, they stood out in the worst way when you compare them to like the Maple Leafs or the Blue Jays or the Argos, which are the Maple Leafs and Argos are two teams steeped in history, Blue Jays, not so much, but aside from that whole Black Jays era, they've always had a traditional look, and they've always fit in the whole like Toronto sports scheme with their like blue and white identity. And for the Raptors, this like purple and black and red team with its stupid dinosaur logo, and they either sucked or they made the playoffs and flamed out disappointingly. Like, I can't express how surreal it is to be here, and how honestly, like, I think, no, Zach, you're absolutely right. It's like, it's so meaningful. And I'm sure you experienced this with the Ducks, right? When the Ducks were, when the Ducks, another 90s expansion team, like, were on the cusp of winning the Stanley Cup. Like,
well, it was even different for me too, because the Ducks at least got to the Cup final. Right?
That's true.
And even if they didn't win, hell, Jaguar won the MVP, won the Conn Smythe. Mm-hmm. So they had kind of flirted with this before, and so it didn't necessarily feel like we sucked for so long and now this is here, because that kind of went away right after that, because it's like, okay, we sucked for so long, but now we're good and we need to start competing, because really they probably should have won it the year before. But they got stopped by a crazy Dwayne Rollison run.
They got stopped by a team that would have won the Stanley Cup if Dwayne Rollison's hip didn't implode.
Right. Well, it's very similar, because like the Ducks had the cartoony identity, they had the weird colors. Mm-hmm. All I got growing up was crap from, even in my school there was a couple people that had become Sharks fans because. A shark, it's cool. It's got the teal and it's got the logo and it's a cool animal. And even Kings fans were still looking down on us forever. And it finally meant something to, like, we did it. We're here. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, like, when we were having this conversation, how many times in the past 2 or 3 years do we throw the Raptors into those teams? We talk about how pointless the NBA is. And we threw the Raptors into that pile of teams that, like, they're just never going to win. What's the point in being a Raptors fan or a Blazers fan or a Nuggets fan or, all
and
as
a Raptors fan, I fully agreed with that assessment. What's the goddamn point, right?
And now here we are, a game away from them actually punching that ticket and maybe winning the whole thing. So I don't know if that means that maybe the NBA is not in as bad a shape as we thought it was in.
I think what we're seeing is, honestly, like, the big thing. I mean, okay, I think that, like, it was a couple of things that was holding the NBA back. You had the Warriors in the West, who were just a Death Star, right? But you look at this now, like Zach said, they're not as dominant as they used to be because, they've got injury issues. And on top of that, you've got a lot of the off-season drama, right? KD's probably leaving. How many more years as an elite talent does Boogie Cousins have? Like, Draymond Green, is he going to be long for this world as a Warrior?
He's a free agent too, isn't he?
He's a free agent. And so you look at it, and it's not inconceivable that, by the start of next season, the Golden State Warriors are just Steph Curry and some guys. And, I mean, Steph Curry is good enough that, they're probably still a playoff team, but, they're not going to be the world beaters they were. And so I think in the West, you kind of see that whole dynamic is starting to weaken. The West is starting to open up more because the Warriors are not going to be the Death Star they used to be. And on top of that, like, and maybe another team breaks through as the dominant team in the West. Spoilers, it's not going to be the Rockets.
I was just going to say that. I don't even think the Rockets are going to do that.
It's not going to be the Rockets. It'll be, it might be the Lakers after LeBron recruits some people. It might be, maybe the Spurs, find some more, fundamentally solid players to dominate again. Who knows? But it's probably not going to be the Warriors. Now, in the East, I kind of think LeBron James had a death grip on the entire goddamn conference.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw that last year. Like, last year, the Toronto Raptors were the number 1 seed in the East, right? LeBron James and the Cavs, like, they were a low seed. And LeBron James almost single-handedly dismantled the Raptors.
Well, not only that, but the Raptors, it was like they saw LeBron and just kind of folded the tent. It's like, okay,
it's like, whatever. It's not happening.
It was fun until now, but now we got to step out of the way and let the real number one seed through. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I think it is? All this, the NBA is, as we've lined out several times, is ruled by dynasties, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get where the dynasties will literally change hands. But then you have in the 90s and 2000s, you've had times where, as the dynasty fades away, there are a few years in between that are kind of up for grabs.
Yeah, it's like the 70s where we were just handing out titles to anybody that wanted one.
The 70s was a prolonged stuff run.
Right, yeah. But I do think that, though. I think with the Warriors falling off, it makes things wide open again for a year or two until LeBron gets the Lakers shit back together.
Yeah, until the Lakers get together or until the Knicks find themselves –
okay, dude, the Knicks are less likely than the Rockets are at this point. Come on,
of course.
Look, I'm going to shut all this Knicks talk up right now because no team built by James Dolan is going to amount to anything.
They've been trying to find
for saying that you've now been banned from Madison Square Garden for the rest of it.
They've been trying to find the cheat code for the Knicks for years now, and it's just not happening.
They put everything into Zion, man.
Yeah. Well, they supposedly have Kevin Durant coming, so
well, I'm sure that will be fun for them.
But the idea is that like the way the NBA works, another juggernaut will arise sooner or later. So if you're one of these other teams,
you got like a year, maybe two left before like.
Yeah, we're probably in like maybe a 2 to 3 year stuff team stretch here, just like the late 70s or the mid 70s or the Rockets of the mid 90s, and take advantage while you can.
And even though we thought this year was still going to be another year of the Warriors just running the show, it shows how valuable this Kawhi Leonard trade was.
Yeah,
where. The Raptors didn't know any of this was going to work, right? Mm-hmm. They just said, you know what? The way we see our team, things are going to fall apart in a year. Let's just throw everything we have at this, and if it works, great. And if it doesn't, we were going to blow the team up anyway. And they threw it all in, and it looks like it might damn well work. So I think you might have some teams here in the next little while that say, hey, what the hell? Let's go after some of these guys that we maybe didn't think we needed to get in the trade, and maybe we just throw in some extra assets because we say it's all or nothing. This is our shot.
Right.
I'm less familiar with the West than I am with the East, but in the East I can think of two teams that Toronto beat in this run actually. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers. Both tremendously talented teams. But both teams are kind of in a win-now situation where in a year or two, there are going to be some very tough decisions that have to be made in terms of contracts and personnel. And, this is the window. Like, I don't think the 76ers or the Bucks are going to be the next great dynasty. But they've got a year or two left with their, current rosters where they can maybe make a run. So, yeah, get in while it's good before LeBron resuscitates the Lakers, because honestly, looking at the landscape of the NBA right now, I think another Lakers dynasty is kind of on the horizon.
Maybe, because you got to remember one thing too: LeBron is not getting any younger.
He's not getting any younger, but he's still tremendously talented. And again, imagine the potential of even 75% speed LeBron James with Antonio Davis and Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
Even if LeBron's slowing down a bit, that's still a lethal team.
And they've got a couple of pretty decent in-house players too. With what's his name, Alonzo Ball's not bad, and so they could. But right now is the time when you're in a transitional period. Now is the time for like a Bucks team or the Raptors in this case, make your run. Because these windows don't last long on the NBA. And
Spoiler warning: another team who's not doing it, the Orlando Magic.
No,
I hate to break it to the one Magic fan.
Yeah, there's a few other the Charlotte Hornets or the Bobcats or the Bob Hornets or the Horn Cats, whatever they're called these days.
Or the New Orleans Pella Hornets, or that whole age is dumb.
Yeah. The Pelicans got the rights to Zion, though, didn't they?
They did.
Ooh, see now I don't know if I know Anthony Davis doesn't want to be there, and man, could they have botched that thing up any more last year than they did? But I don't know, man. I just it's like I said though. We said this about the Raptors. I don't know how many times over the past couple of years we look at it and go, "There's just no way. It's just never going to happen." Well, guess what? It can happen. And maybe it will. I don't know if it's going to be New Orleans. I know it's not going to be the Knicks or the Horn Cats or some of the other teams that brought it. Or the Rockets.
You had the Nuggets that were conceivably there. I
was just going to say, like
the Trailblazers had a pretty nifty run this playoff.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If the Mavericks had some young talent,
if the Warriors do indeed, kind of fall back to earth after this season, now's the time for the Nuggets and the Blazers. From the West. Okay, this is our shot. Again, we know it's not going to be the Rockets because it never is. They are team unfulfilled potential, I think, or whatever you want to call it.
James Harden will miss 27 3-pointers in a playoff game, and they'll get eliminated in 6 games.
What is up with that team? I mean, because you look at them and you go, they should be really good.
This is what happens when you don't play defense.
All right, yeah, well, that's a big part of it. That's true. But yeah, now is the time for your Nuggets and Blazers and maybe the Mavs. I don't know how good the Mavs are anymore.
The Thunder, maybe
the Thunder.
I want the Thunder to succeed so bad. I don't know why. Look, I know
because Kevin Durant was an ass. That's why I want him to.
That's kind of it. It's I know Seattle got screwed, and I know that sucks. I know it does, and I really do feel bad for the city of Seattle there. But I feel bad for the Thunder, too, because Kevin Durant, man, he was the leader of that team. They were on an upward trajectory. They came within 1 game of knocking off the Warriors. Yeah. And instead of going back and saying, you know what, we're going to get him next year, he was a basic bitch and basically destroyed the balance of the league for 3 seasons.
He did what we're going to do when we joined the First Order. At Star Wars,
right.
Yeah, they pulled that exactly. Yeah,
but I also don't feel bad for the Thunder because this was a team that had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant all on the same team.
Yeah,
they traded James Harden for a bag of peanuts. And
I don't remember that trade. Did Harden want that trade, or was that just the Thunder sticking their heads up their butts, basically?
It was the Thunder not wanting to pay all of them.
Because that group, if you kept those 3 together, they could have beaten this Warriors team. Simple as that. They would have gotten one of them eventually. Man, that's just kind of dumb. That's just kind of dumb. Well, that's not kind of dumb. That's very dumb, actually. Very dumb. But yeah, so Mike, tonight could be the night. I know that none of us are huge basketball fans, but I will tell you that when the Cavs won it in 2016, and I've never really been a big. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not a Cavs fan because I am. I like for them to do well. I don't know if they've ever been my truly top favorite team, but when they were in it and they pulled off that 3-1 comeback against the Warriors, and it was Cleveland, we finally get our title. It was awesome. So I hope you get to go through that tonight with your Raptors.
It's insane. Of course, I'm watching the game. My friends back home in Kazakhstan are watching the game. But I'm getting calls from my dad and my uncle who have never given a shit about the NBA before.
Right.
Or what time's the game tonight?
Yep.
And it's exciting. My one regret in all of this is that I won't be in Southern Ontario to celebrate because if they can.
I love that there's been multiple Jurassic Parks that have.
Oh yeah.
Well,
could have been at the other ones.
Speaking of that, Mike, just a little parallel for you here.
Mm-hmm.
When the Cavs won, I wasn't in Ohio to celebrate it. I was in Florida as well, so maybe that's a good omen. There you go, right? There you go. We're lining up here.
And of course, I'm also very sad that our Lord and Savior, King of Ontario for eternity, Rob Ford, not alive to see this glorious historical moment.
Nah, but he'll be firing up that crack pipe in the afterlife and celebrating if it happens.
He's probably got his quadruple XL Raptors jersey that says Mayor Ford on the back,
right.
And he's.
He'll fire up a nice bowl of the rock and off we go.
But, I will say I've enjoyed watching the fourth quarter of all these games. I'm telling you guys, it's the way to watch basketball.
Absolutely. I'm watching the whole thing tonight because I think that I am as invested in this. This is the most invested I've been in a final since the Cavs were in when they won. After the head up your ass game last year, I said, that's it. I know that this is going nowhere. Because if this team's got a player on the court in crunch time that's so fucking stupid he doesn't know what the score is, there is no way they're going to beat the Golden State Warriors. And I was right.
I mean, at the end of the day, you got Cleveland. I don't know, man. That's what happens when you don't build around a superstar. You end up with players who don't know what the score is.
I mean, it's funny to watch now. Like you watch the clip of it and you go, "Wow, what a dumb fuck!" But at the moment, I was like, "What are you doing?"
Well, I remember back then when we talked about it, it's like back then the Warriors were this unbeatable juggernaut, and it's like if the Clippers, not the Clippers, the Cavs are going to have any chance at winning, they've got to capitalize on these close games. It's like this is one of the games they should have won.
Yeah.
Right? And if they can't win those games, then it's over. And, it was. So.
Yeah, because I think had they won that game, it might have been an entirely different series. But that was just the moment where you went, we are hopelessly and undoubtedly screwed here. There's no point in even going further. They should have just given the trophy and the rings right then and there and saved us all the agony of those final three games.
But yeah, to all my friends up in back home, I hope that they win it tonight. I hope that it's fun, and I wish I was on King Street in Kitchener-Waterloo with you celebrating. But I'll be pouring one out for you guys here in the event of a victory. So let's go Raptors.
Before we go, we should probably bring up the fact that Big Papi David Ortiz was shot last night. He's in stable condition, so that's good. The Red Sox, I think in a pretty classy move, have sent a private plane down to bring him back to Boston as soon as he's ready to come back. So all the best wishes to Big Papi, who, despite being a Red Sox player, is one of the few of them that I've ever liked. So I hope that nothing but good thoughts towards him. He's a good ambassador for the game, and let's hope he gets well soon. We got anything else, fellas?
I think
let's go Raptors.
That's right. We the North, baby.
We the North.
I will buy some merchandise if the Raptors pull this off.
Blues, just do what you can, okay?
It came a bit later than it usually did, but we're about to have the St. Louis Blues. Why do we even bother gala?
Yeah, pretty much. I think they're printing up the tickets in the back right now. So, all right, folks, as always, you can follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Go Raptors. We will see you next week.
Later.
Go Raptors.